easiest thing in the world is to complain. So when someone says, enough with the complaints, it's time for solutions, you listen. And that's exactly what the Winterland Impact Festival is all about, spotlighting urgent issues and rallying around solutions. Set under that beautiful big sky of Montana, this weekend, packed with filmmakers, artists, and thought leaders, challenged audiences and attendees to move beyond talk and take action towards the future we all know we need. What follows are interviews with the change makers and storytellers who inspired us this weekend. Enjoy, and we'll see you down the road.
Jeff, thanks for being on Roadcast here
Thanks for
at
having
Project Winterland. Really grateful you have a showing tonight of your film, Let Them Be Naked, which is super exciting. So thanks for being here.
I love it when people say that name.
You're just making people say it. You're
Yeah.
Let Them Be Naked.
Well, it's funny, when I first chose it, the producers were like, it's a working title, right? I'm like, no, that's it.
That's
I
the one?
had a vision, that's it.
Was there pushback? A little like...
No, they were like, okay, that's Jeff. We're going to go with this. We just go with it, and it's going to work out. And the whole idea is that it's best to be nude than dressed in synthetics.
Okay.
And that title just represents
That's the essence. So it's better to be nude than to even let synthetics touch
your
and that's
skin.
really maybe just give a quick essence of the film. I know we'll watch it tonight.
Sure, yeah.
But to orient folks to it who haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. So I've been doing sustainable fashion for 22 years, and the whole idea is to try to teach and educate. Our bodies were designed to be naked. We were never designed to wear anything on top of our skin. That's true.
I love it.
And we can't walk around that way. So we need clothes, but we do need to know what the ingredients are in our clothes, because it's just like food. It affects us. But the difference is when you put food in your mouth, you got filtration systems, you got your esophagus, you got your stomach acids, you got your,
interesting.
kidneys. And so your skin has no barrier. It takes everything in. So it's a 37% absorption rate.
What?
So think about nicotine patches.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Women's hormones patches, right? Stuff like that. So we know it absorbs. So, but we're not connecting the dots. Okay, if that's a polyester shirt, and I'm not picking on you, but if it is, and it's dyed synthetically, well, there's chemicals in that. There's toxins in that are been used in wars for gases and other, pharmaceuticals to, pesticides. And I don't think you would want that on your body.
No, I love that kind of, those things that are hidden in plain sight. You're like, we just don't even think half a second throwing a t-shirt on or your underwear on, and sometimes you hear hey, skin is the largest organ in your body, but you don't then put it together. And I've actually never heard that of there isn't a filtration system for your skin. You're just absorbing it. So it's powerful to say, hey, this is things just right under your nose.
Well, that's why, and I don't think people are shocked when they hear it. They're like, okay, we know Jeff's a little hippie, but he's losing it now. And I'm like, all right. And that's why I did a book, a 280-page book of all the science, research, everything that's out there currently, peer-reviewed, so everyone can make their own decisions.
And the book's out there?
Yeah,
What's
I launched
the name of the
it with it in London.
The film. Okay.
Yeah, so it's out on Amazon, easy access.
Is it called Let Them Be Naked as well?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So I got a soft and hardcover, and so it's great because people have the information in their hands, and that's it. It's giving back the power of choice.
Yeah.
So that you as a gentleman know that, okay, well, that indigo that's in my denim that I'm wearing today, hey.
You were just picking me apart.
Yeah,
I need to start peeling clothes off.
But there's only one place in the world that makes synthetic indigo, and it's China. And there's a reason for it, because they don't have the standards and are the rules to keep certain chemicals from being used for that.
Yeah.
So that's something a common consumer doesn't know.
No.
But they should know before they buy it. It's like smoking. Fine, smoke if you want. But you're going to have that label on that package to say, hey,
this is what's up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all we're trying for in this.
Let's just fast forward then, because I feel like that's the, even at film festivals like this that are focused on, kind of unveiling what's wrong or a problem that needs to be solved. And so a lot of times they're these large systemic things.
Sure.
So what do you say when someone says, hey, what's my first step? So it's bad for me. Okay, do I just go burn my whole closet? I mean, what are those little steps that...
Well, we say definitely don't burn anything because that off-gasses.
Okay,
but yeah, you're right. I mean, and again, I'm not a documentary filmmaker. This is my first one.
Yeah.
And I came from a perspective of just, I grew up in Tennessee on a farm, hands-on, what do we do? And so in the doc, it kind of discovers
Yeah.
shows you the problem, and we also discover solutions. So the quick ones are change your detergents. Right, the detergents are the number one polluter in fashion as far as that sense, and the chemicals that are in it, and obviously it goes out. And that obviously is on your body all day long. So that could be the first and easiest. 7 Generations, a great one. You can buy it in Publix and most grocery stores now. The second thing is underwear. It's the closest thing to our bodies. So you got prostate cancer, breast cancer. There's linkage. We prove it in the book. We prove it we touch base in the doc on it. So you definitely want to get that changed. So shifted into natural cotton, undyed, and it's on the market now. You can find it, but it's not going to be in your everyday boutique store, right? So you have to do a little bit of diving, but it's online.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is your sheeting, because you're sleeping in every night, so you're off-gassing these chemicals. Your body needs a detox. It needs to be able to sweat it out. So imagine being wrapped in plastic and you're trying to sweat it out. It's going to keep it all in.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to change your sheeting to a natural cotton. A hemp is my favorite.
Okay.
Linen's good.
Yeah.
But undyed.
That's helpful. That's a helpful 3. Hey, this is really, you can get after it.
Yeah. You could change it tonight, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's.
What was the there's always a beginning, but for you at a personal level, what was the genesis of taking this? You're an accomplished designer, what was that kind of first moment where you're I think I'm going to start, something's off here, I'm going to go down this path?
It's funny, I'm one of those kind of rare designers. I started this way,
Love it.
Being on the farm, knowing what impacts what you live around and live in. I was there's no way I could continue doing this, and I was at the time I was working for bands, when I was in teenage years. And
so it's connected back to that time. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I went in and was printing these T-shirts, and it's plastisol ink, and these guys were wearing masks in the print shops, and I could barely breathe. I'm like, no, this is not good, because I know that doesn't cure. It's like people thinking that paint, once it dries, it doesn't off-gas anymore. It's now we know that's the fallacy. That's not true. Well, they want you to think the same thing with clothing, that once you set that dye or set that ink, that it cures and it doesn't off-gas, but it does. And so there's this linkage now that they're finding with say baby T-shirts and the printing, cute boy or cute girl, but it's right on their chest and they're breathing it in. So that was the first wake-up call for me.
Making T-shirts for bands.
There's got to be a different way. So I went to Atlanta, Georgia. These guys will flex ink, and we came up with an organic pigment to print the inks, right? So it was a step closer to being natural. So there are solutions. We've got to apply our science to that, but the problem is we need consumers to want this and know it and demand it. It's like the cart before the horse.
Absolutely.
Because these guys are all based on commerce. They're not going to shift and change. They're not going to pay $10 a yard for hemp. They want that 50 cents nylon.
Oof.
And that's the main hindrance right now.
Yeah. How do you see that moving forward? I mean, obviously people are more familiar with the way that the fashion industry then sets trajectories for, all the consumer shopping that you do in malls and across America.
Yeah.
What's kind of the hope when you're looking at it?
The hope is that if we create this surge, this groundswell, and people start demanding it and say, I'm not, in my perfect world, some guy's going to wear a polyester shirt down the street and they're can you believe it? He's wearing polyester. It's
which there's things around it, the plastic bottle is one of those things where it's just ooh.
Yeah, don't use them, So it's the same concept. I think it's just going to take time for people to understand it and then start kind of shifting their wardrobe out, because it's funny, most people, they hear me talk, they go home, they check the wardrobe, and they look through it, and they actually look at the tags it's made of, and they're I have no natural fibers. Because they do it so well now synthetically that it actually mimics, called biomimicry. So it almost mimics a natural fiber so well that your hand isn't trained enough to touch it. Obviously, I can see it from a mile away, but I've been trained.
And you're staring at my shirt. I can see.
Well, it's the heathering that gives that away. But our grandparents, they could touch something. They knew what it was made of. And they were hesitant with synthetics back then, but then it just constant exposure causes acceptance, and then you just wear it based on what it looks like or the price point. And that's where everyone's like, Jeff, you're talking about high.
That's what's
dollars.
hard. The fast fashion. It's that it's not good, but then you're you've gotta, and that's that incremental change. How can you start? I like that.
Well, it's tough too, because we're dealing with, honestly, if we were honest with ourselves, we're dealing with addiction. We like buying things.
Ah.
We like new clothes. We like to go on a date wearing a new shirt. Like, it feels good. It feels good shopping in that mall. And that's hard when you start, like, say you wear buy a hemp t-shirt, it's $40 versus a regular t-shirt that's $10.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to convince somebody, save up, buy that $40 because it's better for you.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with price points that haven't changed since the 70s, and there's a reason for it. And it's people who are making it, and the fibers and dyes that are used in that.
Yeah.
And food's gone up, gas has gone up, housing's gone up, not clothing.
How do you position yourself, being in the fashion industry, where I have to imagine, and I'm not totally fluent in the industry, but, being someone that from the beginning was focused on sustainable, sounds like, you began your career with it. I'm just curious kind of your philosophy on it. Like when you go to design something and it's a new line, what's kind of your vision for that? Is it like, hey, this is a way to model and hopefully other people kind of adopt the style and the way you make it, or do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. So obviously I started in the band world, started doing stage clothing for a bunch of fun acts, Leonard Skinner to, Taylor to, a lot of Christian bands out of Nashville. I mean, it was fun. And then, but I was using hemp, and that's good for one-off pieces. You could do that. And then I got into manufacturing and started producing my stuff, and I realized how expensive that was. So I just designed like 13 pieces and kind of try to just get an entry level in for people. And then I realized if I really want to make a difference, I got to go the couture route.
Yeah.
And that's when I did that dress for Giselle, the indigo dyed, green dress, and she wore it at this thing in New York, and it said Giselle wears hemp. And that was kind of the goal set, is like, I'm going to do red carpet stuff, couture stuff, not because I think I'm,
That's how you affect change.
That's how you got to start at that kind of eye level so that people talk about it. It's in magazines, etc. And then once I wore that out after 6 years of catwalking doing that, I was like, you know what? I'm only affecting a handful. People still aren't moving the dial. So the documentary is the only other way I know how to really move the dial, because it lives past me, beyond me.
Yeah, the story continues.
Yeah. Everyone can watch it. You're not going to come to my catwalk show in London, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a hard access.
I want to, but I mean,
and you can. But that's what I realized. That's why I'm honestly doing.
Well, and that's helpful too. Just saying, this is hemp, and use hemp if you can.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, like, hey, what is that? Okay, I have a question. Will you talk through what you're wearing?
Sure.
And kind of how you thought about it and what are the materials?
Yeah. So obviously these are my socks. They're dyed with indigo, right? And they're just cotton, but I'm working on hemp right now.
Okay, so then dyed with indigo, but then you reference my jeans being like it's a synthetic indigo?
Yeah. So we grow indigo in Tennessee.
Okay.
And we use that as a plant. So I'm glad you said that, because indigo is actually, it's a plant. Japanese indigo is a plant, but they use it as a coloring, so you may think it's a natural plant that dyed your jeans. It's a play on words, but it actually, they use it as the name of the color too.
Interesting.
But it's a plant.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I didn't know. Yeah.
And then these are hemp, and this is dyed with logwood. So we get our black with our logwood. And then this shirt is also hemp, and I use eucalyptus in Malibu. I live in Malibu half the time. I use eucalyptus leaves for that. And this is...
You dyed it yourself?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And then this is my grandfather's vest, leather vest that I keep going. So that's what I'm wearing. And then I don't hand make my boots, but I get them made for me by a cobbler. Yeah. Okay. So I can pick my leather, make sure, because I'm a believer in leather because it lasts forever. But also there's a different chemical process to break it down and to do the tannins. Yeah. And so you can use the same plant dyes for the tannins and leather that you can. So that's what we do. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
How would you help someone like put together a wardrobe, saying like, all right, hey, this is what you really need. Like, if you're going to make these changes, hemp, natural, like, it's just like, hey, have like a core of pants, a couple shirts, socks, and that's just...
Yeah, it's kind of like the old days where, like, I could see you walking down the street and be like, oh, there he goes in his,
Because that's what he wears, or she wears.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like kind of more your uniform. Obviously, we live in a different day. We like to change it up every, day. But I think you start with your staples and you live in those. Yeah. And then you can keep some of your old stuff around to change it up. But you start one staple at a time, and your wardrobe will rebuild. If you actually did the math, it actually equals out because you're not buying as many pieces and these pieces last longer.
Yeah.
They call it design obsolescence, where they teach
Yes.
designers for these articles to fall apart. They use cheap zippers.
Design obsolescence.
Yeah, they don't do the right type of sewing. It's a weaker fabric that doesn't last.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. So it's actually to drive the consumer back in the store to buy more.
It's an interesting relationship with the couture side of things, where an average consumer is like, man, I really should be like wearing something new every day.
Yeah.
And changing it up like year to year. Like
Yeah.
it almost would be shameful to say like, oh, they use that's their uniform. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like where they'd be like, well, no, or a kid saying, I need the new T-shirts and I need
It's driving that.
It's an interesting tension versus like here's someone at that level of designing clothes and saying, no, it's all right to like have wear your staples and it's.
Yeah. Well, you think about like, I don't know. You think about your character, right? Like that it defined what we were wearing. They called it steets, and they believed like how you presented yourself to the world, as an artist.
Yeah.
So they would dress a certain way, and that represented who they were visually. And it's funny, I talk to my bandmates all the time because they just wanted to wear jeans and t-shirt. I'm like, guys, that's great, it's comfortable, get it, but listen to your songs. They warrant better visual when you're on stage. People want to see you and how they hear you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bring your favorite pieces and then show me what outfits you love, like you've seen in the world. And then we put something together and make it an extension of them. I don't recreate who they are, but an extension of them, and let them live that. And it's funny, all my guy friends, I'll put them in like kind of what I'm wearing or something, like a little bit more romantic poet, let's call it.
Yeah.
And they literally, I go, how'd it go today? Because I had a girl come up to me at the grocery store and ask for my number. I'm like, there you go. I'm just saying, like,
I mean, I see a future there. I mean, maybe a new business, a little like online, maybe an app.
Yeah.
Just helping people find what was the word?
Just that sense of character again, because
you said there was like a word for it. It used to be the
aesthetes.
Steets.
The aesthetes. AE, yeah.
Like aesthetics. Like that's where we get aesthetics.
That's where aesthetics come from. But Oscar Wilde was a part, and like it wasn't about dressing a certain way to like show off or be somebody.
Yeah.
It was like to be
Represent.
the artists. Yeah, they were painters, writers, poets, etc. And like, people were like wanted to know who they were. If I took this shirt off right now, put it on you, and you did the rest of these interviews, I think people would respond to you differently than wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to think through that, and part of it feels like giving people permission.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but to be like, hey, it's okay to think through this, and come up with your own identity that's.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it anyways. You're just doing it in a controlled.
In a very commercial controlled way, because they just present this and you pick versus.
Yeah.
So I think there is an opportunity for that. But that's the beauty of this doc. We're just inspiring.
Yeah.
On that level, and like, hey guys, you want to probably go into this natural world because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It's not to shame anyone, not to scare anyone, but it's like you want to, the biggest thing in the doc you'll learn is that Darren Olin, who you might interview later, was in Down to Earth with Zac Efron, healthy guy, big guy, like he's twice my size, he's like my big brother. But I was like, did you know that wearing synthetics, playing tennis, or in the gym that you do every day fatigues your muscles 25% faster? He's like, no, I had no idea. I was like, here's a study. I go, by the way, I got a muscle fatigue test I bought from these Brainiac guys. They're like, we're going to do this on film. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, we're doing it.
That's awesome.
So I dressed him he dressed himself in synthetics, and then we got him some natural stuff, and then we ran the 2 tests, and sure enough, 25% faster.
Interesting.
So think about as we all guys like to, and ladies like to work out and improve ourselves. Well, it's basically like smoking and working out at the same time at the gym.
Yeah, it's just not optimized at all. Which I know that's Darren's kind of key, like that.
Yeah.
Healthy human. That's an interesting.
But it was wild to me. He's been in that space so long. He had no idea. Didn't connect it at all.
Again, it's that like hidden in front of you're like right under your nose.
Oh yeah.
It's this thing, and I think again, it's like we all are wearing something, and so just like open that. And part of it's the research, which is cool that you're bringing that aspect of the heavy research to it as well.
Yeah, my grandfather was the first scientist or chemist that Oppenheimer hired at Manhattan Project.
Oh wow.
In Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So I was born with that kind of mind, that thinking.
Inquisitive and just.
So I was like, what, I gotta get this to everyone because I don't want to. There are always going to be backlash. Chemical companies are going to not like this.
Oh,
There's going to be PR spins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, we're ready for it. That's why I did the book.
It seems like though, athletic companies, sportswear companies would be. If you're really looking at performance, that's a pretty amazing fact.
Yeah.
To say, hey, this is going to help your athletes. And
Yeah.
have you seen any? Have there been? Because even just the way that hemp or even cotton performs, breathability, I guess, is where I'm going. Is thinking through
Well, that's where muscle
that's a big
fatigue comes from. If it can't breathe, it loses its strength, right?
Yeah.
So that's polyester blocks everything. It's non-permeable. Nylon, same thing. So that wicker wear that looks good, it's tight and fitted, but it doesn't breathe. Yeah. So
Yeah.
cotton holds water, so it is breathable, but that's why I prefer hemp, because it doesn't hold water.
It doesn't hold water. Perfect. I love that.
Yeah.
Maybe just lastly, we'll finish up here.
Yeah,
Just
cool.
how did the kismet of all of it coming together? Because you have Darren,
Yeah.
you had a variety of other people's making this launch into the documentary.
Years of collecting friends
Love
and be like, hey, I've never asked of anything, but now I'm doing this, so I need help.
Now's the time.
And now's the time. And they believe in what I believe. They say passion's, not addictive, but
Yeah.
so I ignited everyone and said, okay, now's their time. I go, I cannot redo this again. I'm getting older. I've been doing it 22 years, and
Wow.
it's not an easy business. Fashion's very tough. Think about it this
I have
way.
to imagine.
Your design, your creativity, you have to make every season, and then put it out there. It's like physically make, and then you have physical inventory, and it's not. As a musician, you write your songs and that kind of thing. Yeah, but it's a different beast.
Yeah.
And then you have to recreate yourself all the time and stay in tune and all that good stuff. So catwalks are super expensive. You never get your return on those.
Interesting.
Imagine like being a band touring, but you have to pay for your tour.
It's horrible.
It doesn't work. It doesn't unless you're a big brand or
Yeah.
have that financing. There's just no way.
Yeah.
But I don't want to discourage anyone. I think everyone should follow their dreams. But
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a tough road. It's not easy. So
Also makes sense too, just the storytelling route then of how affecting more change and
yeah.
being able to tell people and show them and.
Well, that's it. If I was doing synthetics, I'd be like, I'd have one of those big mansions on the lake here. But I that's not my path. I turned down a few jobs I could have as a designer that I would have been really set on, but I said no way, because unless you guys want to go this direction, So in a way, I'm a purist to fault, but in my opinion, in a good thing. Yeah.
There's an enjoyment in that. Well, thanks for joining us. Will people be able to view the film? I know we're in festival circuit right now. How can they find out about it?
Well, it's funny, we're in talks now, so it looks like it may be Netflix or Amazon.
Awesome.
But we're just kind of trying to find the best partner that will actually help market and spur it as well, not just sit on the shelf.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's a website, Let Them Be Naked.
Yeah, and I'll have
.com
up-to-date stuff. Yeah,
Just
exactly.
enjoy searching for that.
And they can grab the book now in the meantime.
I love it. Cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it, and look
Thanks.
forward to watching the film tonight.
All right, cool.
All right.